Behind me, lines of volunteers are piling sandbags, trying to stop the Clark Fork River from further coming over where it's breached. One of the key points of your campaign was to promise Missoulians that if they stay in the city and they plan to work in the city, that it will be affordable for them to do so. What do you plan to do in the next 4 years to ensure that? Now, some people choose to hunker down beneath overpasses like this one at the Van Buren Street Bridge, where it appears that someone has been spending some time. For some direct healthcare providers, they've had to protect themselves as well. This service gives them access to things everybody else does. Maybe get a job, live in their own home, just have a good quality of life. People worried about wind kicking up some of the fire activity already going on here and the potential for some new starts due to dry lightning. They've been overcrowded since 2010, which drives up costs for basic needs for inmates like food and clothing. Are preparing to put on a play next Sunday. Almond's one of the actors. Are you excited for the play?
Yeah.
Within the course of about 4 to 6 hours, this pasture previously had horses in it, was completely flooded and those animals had to be moved out. This is Taft Tunnel. It's about 1.7 miles long, pitch black, and the entrance to the Hiawatha Trail.
The situation in Seeley Lake is still precarious, with a monster Rice Ridge fire just over the hill from hundreds of homes. MTN's Augusta Mcdonnell has more from the people who are affected by this fire.
It's quiet in the neighborhoods that were evacuated last week. The dense smoke filling the valley muffles all sound, and one resident says he hasn't really seen his neighbors.
I saw the neighbor lady that lives right over here just a little while ago. I haven't seen anybody else.
Another resident who also just got back home had watched the Rice Ridge fire grow across the hillsides behind his house and was anxious over this last evacuation.
The fire is actually this whole back area on the other side of the tree line, which you can't see. It's freaky. You know, you don't know where it's going to go. That's the issue. When a fire grows 48,000 acres in a day, it could take out a town in no time.
Not everyone is able to go back to their houses yet, but some have found a home away from home at Camp Paxson.
An unofficial shelter has formed out here at Camp Paxson, where evacuees have been chipping in to make meals and clean, and the people who run the camp have opened their doors to anyone who needs a place to go.
Yeah, it started that we were going to bring a family of friends and our own family, daughter and grandkids out, and then as we were coming back to camp, we found so many others that had nowhere to go. So we said, follow us.
But if it hadn't been for Joe and Glenn and Camp Paxton, I would have had no place to go.
They had 58 people at the camp at one point. The Montana Food Bank Network delivered over 7,000 pounds of food to the camp for evacuees. People can stop by for meals, and they are going to keep the doors open to anyone who needs a place to stay for the time being. Reporting in Seeley Lake, I'm Augusta Mcdonnell for MTN News.
If you want to have some decent food and you make a fire, patience and preparation is very key in this.
It's called fire busting, using friction and materials found in the woods. Wilderness therapy program Inner Roads teaches outdoor survival skills that teens like Zeke Arledge use to get through difficult things in life as well.
If you want to reach your really big goals in life, you have to focus on the little goals and the little things in life in order for you to progress. Ta-da! Fire in my hands.
He was on probation when he entered the Inner Roads program.
When I got out, I got back into school. I have a nice job. I have a home with my mom. I've got a really nice friend group. It's a lot better. It's a lot better.
You're problem solving. You're putting pieces together. You're thinking into the future, and you're looking back and assessing, why isn't this working? What could I do differently? The social part is, when is it appropriate to ask for help? You know, how far down am I going to go in my own kind of emotional hell before I'm willing to ask somebody if they have another idea.
Bree Schulman has been the Inner Roads therapist for several years, but when the program was dropped by youth homes after state budget cuts severely reduced their funding, she decided to take on forming a new nonprofit. With the help of professionals who volunteered their time to keep the program going for now, Schulman says they hope to not miss this summer. Now, wilderness therapy is a cost-effective and less restrictive model of care for kids who need treatment with a higher level of success. There are two main routes for a juvenile exhibiting behavioral or mental health issues who may end up in the court system or need higher levels of mental health care: incarceration and inpatient or residential treatment.
According to a study by U.S. News and World Report, 75% of incarcerated youth's crime in the United States is considered nonviolent. Those individuals could be in treatment, which is proven to be a far more cost-effective option. University of Montana graduate student Erica Forsley compared the cost of incarceration for Montana youth to wilderness therapy costs. For an 8-week stay for a youth at a Montana State Detention Center, taxpayers pay $23,000 to $31,000. Their typical time spent incarcerated is about 12 months. For youth living with serious behavioral or mental health issues, Medicaid does fund hospitalization and residential treatment. For example, Medicaid pays for hospitalization for major depressive disorder, which is largely associated with suicidal behavior, at a rate of $22,600 for 40 days. 48 days at Inner Roads, while it operated as a youth homes program, cost $8,000 and is a proven method to prevent youth from ending up in these higher levels of care. Inner Roads plans to continue in its second life as a nonprofit, but there are for-profit models of wilderness therapy as well. They are more expensive. For-profit wilderness therapy programs charge between $20,000 and $30,000 for an 8-week stay.
It's a long road ahead for the program figuring out how to fund this treatment long term, but they do have some things moving in their favor. Right now, they're getting more referrals than they have spaces to fill. The community wants this program to stay, and there's a new billable insurance code to help pay for the treatment.
And I think that some of these skills where they get to take care of themselves and realize that if they put in the energy now, they are what they need, and they're worth it. They're worth having here. Ideally, that gives kids the foundation they need to bring that back home and keep going.
In Missoula, Augusta Mcdonnell, MTN News.
Oh, it's just devastating. This place has been here for so long, and it's just horrible to look at it. It just makes me sick. It's really sad.
Hannah Filer worked at the steakhouse and says the new owners had opened KJ's 9 Mile Steakhouse just over a year ago. The owners were new, but the restaurant certainly was not. The age of the building made fighting this fire difficult. The Frenchtown Fire Department arrived to find it fully involved after it was called in about 10:30 Sunday night.
It's a really old building that's gone through several renovations. So with the age of the building and the renovations, it proved pretty difficult last night. We had 5 water tenders shuttling water through here, but it was going for quite some time before we got here.
Holt says about 30 firefighters worked overnight and into the morning. They had assistance from East Missoula Volunteer Fire and the Missoula Rural Fire Department. The Missoula County Sheriff's Office was also on scene. They closed off Highway 10 for a period of time.
Not only was this restaurant one of the few places locally where you could go to grab a meal, it was also a staple in the community where people gathered to celebrate holidays and special occasions together.
Ray Bennett has lived in the area his whole life.
Place to eat, a gathering place. In fact, me and my wife had our wedding reception in there, as a lot of other folks did here.
Crews spent Monday searching for hot spots and pouring water onto the structure. An excavator was used to dig through parts of the building where it was too hot for crews to enter on foot.
I'm just glad nobody was hurt, that everybody was gone for the evening and that nobody was hurt. I'm really thankful for that. It's a very close-knit community, and if we would have lost anybody, it would have been far more devastating than what we see now.
Reporting from the 9 Mile Valley, I'm Augusta Mcdonnell for MTN News.